The Death of a Hero by Charles Bukowski. I was young when my hero was young, the only difference being that he quickly became famous, and soon I saw his photograph in the newspaper, in nightclubs with starlets, and the next thing I knew there was a war. And he was in uniform, in full garb, but I remembered that in his books he had said that he would never ever go to war. Well, most of us have heroes, and we don't want them to be ordinary. We want them to be dangerous and damned well original and never given over to any kind or sort of compromise. I couldn't understand how a man could write so defiantly and clearly and then proceed to do the opposite. I thought that you were what you wrote. I thought that what you wrote was from your soul, and that such a final cop out by my hero was impossible. So I turned on the bastard. And so did the public. We were not interested in his books about army life. Afterwards, he went to Malibu and sat on the beach and watched the waves break on the shore like lies, like lies, like lies. Oh, sorry, I didn't see you there. Hello, and welcome to Bitcoin Talk Show, the show where we take your calls live on Skype. Get your Skype clients ready and get ready to call World Crypto Network soon. But first, a quick check of today's news. Today is Wednesday, May 30th, 2018. My name is Thomas Hunt, and this is Bitcoin Talk Show. Be sure to give us a thumbs up and a share so that more people will join the show. The price of Bitcoin was down 1.69% in the last 24 hours, with a last of 7,336, a high of 7,555, and a low of 7,292. That's $1 for 13,650 Satoshis. And let's do a quick check of the proof of work 51% cost attack. They have those words all mixed up. Let's check the cost of a 51% attack on Bitcoin, 538,000, Ethereum, 390,000, Bitcoin Cash, $72,000, Litecoin, 68,000, Monero, 22,000. Let's look at some low ones. Bytecoin, only $981. Vertcoin, $995. Game credits, a mere $520. $447 for Ubic, and let's not forget $31 for an Einsteinium. You can 51 attack the Einsteinium chain for $31. How secure is your crypto? Find out at crypto51.app. Bitcoin fights back, but it's too early to call a bull reversal. More analysis of the market from Coinbase and Omkar Godbull. Let's go straight to the view. The immediate outlook has been neutralized, but only a convincing move above the 10-day moving average of 7,562 would add credence to yesterday's bullish outside day candle and signal a short-term bullish reversal. In such a case, Bitcoin will likely test the descending trendline hurdle, now seen at 7,930. The overall bias remains bearish as long as the falling trendline hurdle remains intact. Repeated rejection at the 50-day moving average resistance in the 4-hour chart could yield a pullback to 7,100 or 7,000. A break below 6,900 would open up the downside towards 5,000, while a move above the recent high of 9,990 would revive the long-term bullish outlook. Bank of England. Central bank digital currencies can jeopardize commercial banks. That's right, digital currencies can certainly jeopardize commercial banks and central banks. There's lots of trouble in the future for the Bank of England. Dun, dun, dun. They were the only one printing money, and now there's Bitcoin. Cheap Air ditches BitPay for open source Bitcoin payments. Congratulations to Cheap Air, who's gotten rid of BitPay in exchange for BitPay Server. As you recall, recently BitPay made the mistake to go with Bitcoin Cash and to offer it in a confusing manner right in their application with the logo only slightly changed, or maybe even they use the same logo. BitPay continues to side against the Bitcoin community and supported the 2x hard fork. Because of this, members of the Bitcoin community took it to themselves to create the open source version, BitPay Server, which basically does the same thing that BitPay does, only for free. Bad news for BitPay. And remember, if you're rude and mean to the internet, they'll replace your company with an open source project. This would be the end of your company. Congrats to Cheap Air. Layer 2 blockchain tech is an even bigger deal than you'd think. That's right, he doesn't say Layer 2 Bitcoin. He says Layer 2 blockchain tech because the corporations are here to harvest all of your good ideas and take them home with them. The article by Michael J. Casey, author from Wall Street Journal and author of the book Digital Gold or Age of Cryptocurrency, along with Paul Vigna, says that there could even be problems with fees after transactions switch over to Layer 2. We've been talking about this for years and years, but it still won't go away. The miners continue to be petrified of Layer 2 solutions, despite the obvious truth that if it's popular to make Litecoin or Lightning transactions, it will be popular to make Bitcoin transactions. It's absurd to think of a market where only Lightning is being used and Bitcoin is underused or not available. There's still plenty of large purchases to be made in the world, and the miners could take the fees off of those large purchases. As the article says, might Layer 2 solutions deny miners the fees they need to continue securing the underlying blockchain? No. No, they won't. A quick check of the current price of Bitcoin is $7,330. Would you like to donate to this show? Yesterday, when I activated a Trezor and showed you how to use the new Trezor T online, I received more than $26 in donations. Donate now to the QR code on your screen. And get ready, because I'm going to turn on the chat lines. So here we are. Chat us now on Skype, World Crypto Networks. Activating now, putting on my headphones. And remember, if you don't join us, I will be reading more from the books that I just got from downstairs. We've got Charles Bukowski sifting through the madness for the word, the line, the way. Looks like a good one. We've got Code of the Samurai, Bushido, the Soul of Japan, and my personal favorite, On Bullshit by Harry G. Frankfurt. And this is it's a treatise about bullshit by, I think it's Yale. I said Harvard last time and I was wrong. Princeton University Press, published by Princeton and Oxford. And it looks like the calls, let's see, I'm going to see if I have to add you to Skype. That is one thing. So I'm going to look right now, see if there's anybody I need to add and try to make this window a little bigger so maybe I can read it. I'm doing this through a remote desktop today. We'll see how that goes. So I'm looking at Skype. Somebody says, how's it going? This guy wants to connect. He's added. Let's see. Guy's in Abu Dhabi. That's cool. Other part of the world. Let's see. Accept. Okay, so I'm accepting some people, but these look like old contact requests. I'm not sure that these are new. So if you want to add us right now on Skype at World Crypto Network, all one word on Skype, we are awaiting your call. Until then, I'm going to read from On Bullshit. One of the most salient features of our culture is that there is so much bullshit. Everyone knows this. Each of us contributes his share, but we tend to take the situation for granted. Most people are rather confident of their ability to recognize bullshit and to avoid being taken in by it. So the phenomenon has not aroused much deliberate concern, nor attracted much sustained inquiry. In consequence, we have no clear understanding of what bullshit is, why there is so much of it, or what functions it serves. And we lack a conscientiously developed appreciation of what it means to us. In other words, we have no theory. I propose to begin the development of a theoretical understanding of bullshit, mainly by providing some tentative and exploratory philosophical analysis. I shall not consider the rhetorical uses and misuses of bullshit. My aim is simply to give a rough account of what bullshit is and how it differs from what it is not. Or, putting it somewhat differently, to articulate, more or less sketchily, the structure of its concept. Any suggestion about what conditions are logically both necessary and sufficient for the constitution of bullshit is bound to be somewhat arbitrary. For one thing, the expression bullshit is often employed quite loosely, simply as a generic term of abuse, with no very specific literal meaning. For another, the phenomenon itself is so vast and amorphous that no crisp and perspicuous analysis of its concept can avoid being procution. Nonetheless, it should be possible to say that something helpful, even though it is not likely to be decisive. Even the most basic and preliminary questions about bullshit remain, after all, not only unanswered, but unasked. So far as I am aware, very little work has been done on this subject. I have not undertaken a survey of the literature, partially because I do not know how to go about it. To be sure, there is one quite obvious place to look: the Oxford English Dictionary. The OED has an entry for bullshit in the supplementary volumes, and it also has entries for various pertinent uses of the word bull and for some related terms. I shall consider some of these entries in due course. I have not consulted dictionaries in languages other than English, because I do not know the words for bullshit or bull in any other language. Another worthwhile source is the title Essay in the Prevalence of Humbug by Max Black. I am uncertain just how close in meaning the word humbug is to the word bullshit. Of course, the words are not freely and fully interchangeable. It is clear that they are used differently. But the difference appears, on the whole, to have more to do with the considerations of gentility and certain other rhetorical parameters than with the strictly literal modes of significance that concern me most. It is more polite, as well as less intense, to say humbug than it is to say bullshit. For the sake of this discussion, I shall assume that there is no other important difference between the two. Let's see. I'm going to check the chat. We're going pretty good through this book. I'm going to check Skype. I'm not seeing anything. It's saying a new version is available. Do you think we need to update Skype? Is anyone trying to call in? Let's see. Okay, well, I'm going to click update on Skype, and we'll see how that goes. And we're going to check in with the chat. But we will return. This is a good book. And as you can see, it is really a philosophical and a thoughtful treatise about bullshit. You know what else is bullshit? People that just never make it to any appointments. You invite them to like 100 things and they say 100 times, no, I can't make that. No, I can't make that. At a certain point, you not making it ends the thing. Like you can say, oh, I'm going to get back to that in 6 months. There might not be anything left in 6 months. So you have to show up to things. You can't just, these people, and they just can't show to anything. So, okay, so it says we're active on Skype at World Crypto Network. And we'll probably keep this going till around 2 o'clock if there aren't any phone calls. But we're just going to go back to the book here. I'm looking at the chat. People want to get a place in Dubai, say it's super cool. They want a bullshit blockchain with proof of bullshit, or maybe some delegated bullshit. The other great part about this book is you get to say bullshit over and over again in a scholarly manner, because this is obviously, as you can tell, perspicacity and procusion. This is a very important scholarly work about bullshit. So yeah, if you'd like to call in now, Skype to World Crypto Network, all one word. Black suggests a number of synonyms for humbug, including the following: balderdash, claptrap, hokum, drivel, bumcomb, imposture, and quackery. This list of quaint equivalents is not very helpful, but Black also confronts the problem of establishing the nature of humbug more directly, and he offers the following formal definition: humbug, deceptive misrepresentation, short of lying, especially by pretentious word or deed, of somebody's own thoughts, feelings, or attitudes. A very similar formulation might plausibly be offered as enunciating the essential characteristics of bullshit. As a preliminary to developing an independent account of these characteristics, I will comment on the various elements of Black's definitions. Deceptive misrepresentation. This may sound pleonastic. No doubt what Black has in mind is that humbug is necessarily designed or intended to deceive, that its misrepresentation is not merely inadvertent. In other words, it is deliberate misrepresentation. Now, if as a matter of conceptual necessity, an intention to deceive is an invariable feature of humbug, then the property of being humbug depends at least in part upon the perpetrator's state of mind. It cannot be identical accordingly with any properties, either inherent or relational, belonging to just the utterance by which the humbug is perpetrated. In this respect, the property of being humbug is similar to that of being a lie, which is identical neither with the falsity nor with any of the other properties of the statement the liar makes, but which requires that the liar makes his statement in a certain state of mind, namely, with an intention to deceive. Let's see. Checking out. One person does want to contact us on Skype. Remember, you can call us on Skype at World Crypto Network, all one word. This guy's saying, can you really compromise the Bitcoin network for $500,000? Well, to go back to the 51% attacks, a 51% attack, it gives you the ability to create your own chain and to write your own transactions, or the ability to double spend and to go to an exchange and say withdraw money twice, things like this. So if you attacked Bitcoin with your 500,000 or whatever, you would get a brief ability where you could do that. Now, what would happen is the developers would see it happening. They'd go back, they'd roll back the chain, they'd cut you off, and they would probably block your miners. They would probably block your miners from connecting in the future. It's possible that you would lose more than just your $500,000 investment. I'm not sure whether the chart on that page for the cost of proof of work attacks, I suppose you could rent the servers for $538,000. This is for 1 hour. So you could have an hour of that attack. I don't know if this is assuming you already have the hashes, but again, you'd have to get someone to sell these hashes to you. They'd be risking their miners. And again, it's a temporary takeover. Let's see. Oh, we're getting a call right now. Let's see. How do we answer Skype? Oh, this is going to be frustrating. Okay, Skype, come on. Okay, so Skype application seems to be crashing. I'm going to try to get that back. But we were receiving a call, and we will try to get to your call again. I'm going to close Skype and reopen it. Now it still looks... Okay, there we go. Missed call. All right, accept. I'm getting a lot of... I don't know, the remote desktop connection is not functioning perfectly, if you will. So I'm going to try to see if I can get this guy back. Looks like he was just calling. Everything's blinking on my remote desktop now. And this thing is muted and it has to be unmuted through here. Oh, almost.
Hold on.
All right. Caller, can you hear me? You're live on the World Crypto Network. How's it going?
Hey, how's it going, guys? I was just in the chat as Chaotic Crypto, also known as Tony Cascio.
All right. And where are you calling from? And what's on your mind about Bitcoin today?
I'm calling from Tennessee right now. And as far as the price and the movement and stuff, I still think even though it's fluctuating, it's in a good place, the technology behind it is the most important thing. So as long as you kind of like set yourself up to, I guess, like keep, how do I say, ebb and flow
Mhm.
generally, aside from your stash, you don't really have to worry about it. You just like keep working towards helping build the network, and everything will grow exponentially. So the whole thing is like pretty much occupying your time and not having to worry about uh, what Bitcoin is doing, especially like if you're not helping it at the moment.
I do agree. If you have a good amount of fiat or if you have a day job, you don't have to worry that much about crypto. It goes up and down, but as long as you don't have to sell tomorrow to pay rent, it doesn't matter that much. I agree with you. I think the technology is in a really good place right now. The Lightning Network, layer two solutions, things like side chains, Liquid, all the other stuff that Blockstream's doing. There's a lot of great technology being built on Bitcoin. It just doesn't exactly turn over to the price. Did you see that article recently about the hash rate? That even though the price is down, the hash rate is up? What'd you think of that?
No, I didn't actually see the article, but I've been kind of like looking at a lot of stuff behind the scenes and like a lot of the side chains and the technologies that's going into the exchanges and stuff, and pretty much like how it's going to roll over into like future markets and like commodities and like parallel to existing system. And I think it's pretty cool, especially like the side chains that are actually being implemented and utilized to like help people around the world and like go ahead and start setting up infrastructures to help a lot of communities in third world countries. I tend to like try to look for those to pretty much see like where I can help as far as marketing or even like donation wise, and even where like kind of like with my portfolio, depending on what chain is doing what, that's kind of where I decide like where my money is. I don't. It's kind of hard to like not be purely focused on getting a return, but I have a different investment strategy, so that's kind of like how I look at the whole thing. So even like with hash rates, like as long as the chain itself is like a good cause or like is actually like doing something in society that I feel is parallel to my ethos, then that's pretty much where you can find me at.
I do agree, and I think it's a good time to tell people about Bitcoin because we are so very early to it. If you could share it with anybody, they'll learn more.
Yeah, it's kind of strange because see, I don't think that we're early, but I kind of see that we still are. So that's kind of that's my only disconnect. I kind of take for granted that everybody's already into it. So yeah.
I agree, and if you can just share it with one person or one other person, it's just so exciting to get people into Bitcoin, people that haven't bought it before, or maybe they thought you had to invest 7,000 at one throw, and you show them they can put 20 bucks in. It really, it spreads the information, you know?
Most definitely. Most definitely.
All right, cool. Well, thanks so much for your call. Give us a call anytime.
Oh, no problem. Thank you for having me.
All right. And remember, you can call us live right now on Skype at World Crypto Network, all one word. I'm taking a look. I have to add you on there. So go ahead and add World Crypto Network, all one word, and we'll get you on here. We were reading the book on bullshit. It was pretty good. We might look for a little bit of this samurai book that I've got here. It's called Code of the Samurai. And usually there is more stuff going on in Bitcoin, and we can talk more about Bitcoin, but I don't think there's been that much stuff going on other than the price being down a little. Uh, it's just people are all freaked out. They thought, again, it's all about expectations. We thought we were going to get a convention bump, and then we didn't get a convention bump, and now everyone's sad about it. But you know, it's okay. Let's go to chapter 7: veracity or truthfulness. Truthfulness. Sorry, let's have water. Without veracity and sincerity, politeness is a farce and a show. Propriety carried beyond right bounds, says Masune, becomes a lie. An ancient poet has outdone Polonius in the advice he gives: to thyself be faithful. If in thy heart thou strayest not from truth, without prayer of thine the gods will keep thee whole. The apotheosis of sincerity, to which Susu gives expression in the doctrine of the mean, attributes to it transcendental powers, almost identifying them with the divine. Sincerity is the beginning and the end of all things. Without sincerity, there would be nothing. He then dwells with eloquence on its far reaching and long enduring nature, its power to produce changes without movement, and by its mere presence to accomplish its purpose without effort. From the Chinese ideogram for sincerity, which is a combination of word and perfect, one is tempted to draw a parallel between it and the Neoplatonic doctrine of logos. To such height does the sage soar in his unwanted mystic flight. Although it's unwanted without an A, though, so I don't know what that means. Unwanted. Interesting idea, though, about sincerity and the value of it. And remember, sincerity, without a simple definition here, sincerity is when you act like you are, when you are like you are. The opposite of sincerity would being false or being untruthful. So if you'd like to give us a call, Skype World Crypto Network, all one word. You can go ahead, step out from work. You can Skype on your cell phone, ask a quick question, bop back into work. But we might try this again later. We did have a successful call a few minutes ago. That was excellent. Thanks so much, Tony. It's great to test out the system and have it actually work. Although the remote desktop connection doesn't seem quite up to snuff. It's got a little slowness too. So, but let's just keep going. I mean, I guess if you want to hear some Bitcoin news, we could read the articles out loud. That seems kind of boring to me. We did go through the articles already. So let's just check the price. And we've got a call. Skype is, of course, scrambling and poorly loading. Let's see. Makes it much more exciting. Incoming call. Clicking on it. Sorry, guys. I'll get this figured out. But for right now, I'm going to mute that, and then I'm going to try to figure out why my remote desktop connection is not refreshing very well with Skype. Okay, so let's see. Call ended, incoming call. All right, so we are trying to get the call. I'm clicking on it. It's funny, you think that remote desktop connection, the computer's only in the other room. You think it would be able to display me a Skype window, at least where I could push the answer button. That's all I'm really doing. But it is just not working. Let's see. Okay, so we're getting this guy. Missed his call. All right, there's a lot of blinking stuff, but we're trying to call this guy back if you're out there. And then we're going to unmute it. Let's see. Oh, I have to do this on this end. Makes it easy. We're trying to call this guy back. Looks like we have an echo. Caller, can you turn down your speakers? Maybe you need headphones. But yeah, just go ahead and tell us what's your name and where you're calling from. Caller, can you turn down your speakers?
I'm going to have to do this again with a headset. Sorry about that.
But yeah, just go ahead and tell us what's your name and where you're calling from. Caller, can you turn down your speakers?
I'm going to have to do this again with a headset.
Deja vu. Still give you a chance if you want to ask a question. Oh, all right. So he's going to get headphones and call us right back. But if you've got headphones, you can call us right now on Skype at World Crypto Network, all one word. Looking at the price of Bitcoins, a possible bottom here at 7,026. It rebounded all the way up to 7,560 and now is at 7,338. Looking at the trend line, we're still pretty down from 19,666. Looks like it may be curving upward, but as you can see, these previous upward curves were met by more selling. No one knows if this selling is from the Mt. Gox bankruptcy selling or if people just like to sell because it's May. And remember, the chart only shows the past. It doesn't show the future. And we were reading books. We had just talked about sincerity. the ability to be who you actually are and to act as you actually are. And I find that a lot of people lack sincerity. If you go back to something like Buddhism, right action, right thought, these seem like very basic concepts, but in our world, hardly anyone is doing that. Everyone is acting poorly, complaining about free shows. Um, that's just makes no sense. Like if you're getting something for free, enjoy it. If you don't like it, there are so many wonderful choices in entertainment these days. You can clearly move on to something else. You don't have to complain or be negative about something that's free. But we can all be more sincere by saying what we want clearly, then going out to get it. I think a lot of the problem is people never take the time to think about what they actually want. All right, we got another call. Hello, caller. You're live on the World Crypto Network. What's your name and where are you calling from?
Yeah, hi. My name is Adrian. I'm calling from San Jose. How are you?
Hey, Adrian. How's it going? Welcome to the show. What's on your mind about Bitcoin?
Can you hear me?
Sorry. Yeah, I can hear you. Go ahead. What's your question or what's on your mind?
Yeah, so my question is, I'd like to go back to this issue of the 51% proof of work attack. It concerns me as a holder of Bitcoin, and I feel like something must be amiss with this number because $500,000 to fairly large organizations who are anti-crypto, like for example China, that's like pennies in the pocket for you and me. And if that number is indeed correct, all you need is a small amount of knowledge and a lot of money to effect a 51% attack, which would then have pretty tremendous consequences in terms of confidence in the network worldwide. Why hasn't it happened yet? I feel like something is missing from this calculus.
Well, first of all, this website is the cost of an attack for an hour. So you could do an hour's worth of attack. You could double spend. You could attack the network. Also, I'm not 100% sure how accurate this website is. I thought it was kind of fun that you could attack some of the coins for $30. I agree with you. If it is so easy, I'm not sure that it's quite at the script kiddie level where you just put $30 on a website and it attacks. And I'm also, we just want to be clear on this 51% attack. You get the ability to write your own chain, and the blockchains kind of fork, and then there's two chains. And then for a limited amount of time, you get the ability to double spend or to do what you want on your chain. Now, if the 51% attack is detected in the first 5 minutes, even if your attack length is an hour, you had a 5-minute length to get your double spending in. I don't know how long it would take to do that. I don't know how quickly the attack would be discovered. But the main thing to understand about this is it's not like a corporation. You don't get to control Bitcoin forever because you got 51% of it or appoint the board of directors. It's not just a takeover. I think a lot of times in American culture, we think about a corporate takeover. And if you get 51%, you get the keys to the castle. You get Pepsi Cola. You get the whole thing. I think with this, you would get until the attack is discovered. And then I also think there's a possibility that just saying renting mining hardware for 500,000 for an hour might not be possible because I believe that there would be a retribution against the mining hardware, at the very least banning their IP addresses and trying to block them from rejoining the network. So if you were a mining factory and the rest of your time you're making good money mining, why would you rent out your machines for an hour to destroy the network if it could make it so you don't make any more money on mining? So I think there is more than just spending $500,000.
Yeah, no, I do appreciate that, and I appreciate that the attack would be short-lived. But if what your intent is not to recoup the $500,000 in a double spend, but rather to undermine confidence in the Bitcoin network, surely a 51% attack would be newsworthy, and surely it would undermine confidence in the Bitcoin network, right?
Well, I think it's pretty much for a long time, we thought the only people capable of doing it were very large corporations or someone like China or the US. And yeah, there's definitely a reason to do it from the propaganda side. If you don't like Bitcoin and you want to have a bad article about Bitcoin or a series of bad articles, this would be the way to do it. The other way would be making a copy of the coin, splitting the community. We've seen that be very successful, and that was just at a smaller level. If you tried that with an even more tight knit group, more money behind it, you might even have more success. Um, Why hasn't been done? I still think that there's a risk to the miners. So if you were China or the US and you were going to invest all the money on the hardware yourself, then I think you could. I think this is more like maintenance costs. Like if you were maintaining the attack for an hour, it would cost you 500 grand, which again, China or the US could easily do. Uh, yeah, I know we need to ask people more questions about this. I think it's an interesting site and an interesting way to look at Bitcoin and the other altcoins. I don't think that coin market cap is the right way to look at these, and I don't think that this is totally the right way either. But I think a combination of the two, a combination of the price and all these other things, you get a better picture than with just one.
All right. Well, thanks a lot for your answer.
Cool. Thanks so much for the call. Yeah, give us a call anytime.
All right. Thanks. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. And remember, you can call us right now on Skype at World Crypto Network, all one word. Let's see. There's someone who wants to add us as a contact. I've went ahead and added them. And it seems like we're receiving another call. Let's see. Skype interface. It just doesn't seem to want to refresh itself. It's very strange. It's like I can do almost everything except use the software. Remote desktop, ladies and gentlemen. Not green. I think we got him. All right, we're gonna check over there, see if we've got him. Let's see.
Hello, how are you?
Hello, caller. You're live on the World Crypto Network. What's your name and where are you calling from?
I'm Carlos. I'm calling from Brooklyn right now.
All right, Carlos. What's on your mind about Bitcoin?
How are you? Wanted to say thank you for all the years of great Bitcoin news that you've dedicated.
Thank you, man. I like doing it. I just want to keep talking about Bitcoin. From the beginning, I just thought it was really exciting technology, and I told my family and I told my friends, and they told me to stop telling them about it. So I said, okay, I'm going to go tell the internet about it, and I just keep trying to do that every day.
Oh, no, thank you. Well, I didn't really have a question, but like, where do you see the future of Bitcoin going? Like in the next 2 years, and it's like 2 to 5 years.
All right, 2 to 5 years. I think that's a really long time in Bitcoin and cryptocurrency. We have this idea of like crypto years. I've been in Bitcoin about 5 years now, but it seems more like 20. It seems like an eternity. So if I was thinking 2 years, I would multiply that 4 by 4 and think more of 8 years. So 2 years down the line, I just think adoption keeps growing. I think that we're at a point right now where most people, they've heard of Bitcoin, they heard it was drug money, they heard it's not really drug money anymore, and now they're hearing that Bitcoin makes you rich. And I don't know if Bitcoin makes you rich, and I don't know if that keeps up forever, but that's a great way to sell it and to tell people about it and get them interested, because it is money that has its own value. And I think we'll just keep having more and more adoption, more and more mainstream adoption. It would be great to see the Lightning Network become more mature. I think we'll have really good Lightning wallets in 2 years. I think we'll be using Lightning transactions almost exclusively, unless you're going to buy something big like a house or pay off your student loans. So I think it's really exciting.
You've done a few videos on a couple of things that I like, but can you show one on Lightning Network actually?
Like, I don't know if I have a good one right now. The main thing I would say is Lightning Network is just kind of like a layer 2. It's a second layer on top of Bitcoin. And what you could do is maybe take $100, transfer it to the Lightning Network. Then you would send around, essentially, they're kind of like IOUs for the Bitcoin, but you could send around in smaller amounts, like $1 or 10 cents. And then you send all those around, and then maybe Starbucks is collecting those, and that maybe they collect up like $10,000 worth, and then they cash out back to Bitcoin, trading in their IOUs for Bitcoin. So we can use this second layer where the fees are almost nothing, and we can send around even smaller amounts than with Bitcoin.
That's awesome.
Yeah, I think it's gonna be really good. The wallets are still very rudimentary. The idea is rudimentary. They did an interesting thing. They didn't build it as a hub and spoke model where you'd have like banks and other people with large amounts of Lightning tokens acting as hubs. They tried to build it as a full distributed model. So it should be really exciting. Can't wait to see it come on more.
Do you think Binance will be serving United States customers soon?
No way to know. I don't know that much about Binance. I think they had a ICO coin or something like that to launch their exchange. I've heard they're a decentralized exchange or something like that, but I'm not sure. I know BISC or BitSquare is out there, and that's a really cool decentralized exchange. Most of the exchanges are about the same until we get a decentralized one. They're just kind of like an exchange in another country or an exchange with a different feature. The real feature that we need is an exchange that can't be shut down, that can't be seized by the government. But that's going to be a complicated technical project to do.
Satoshi should have made one of those too.
Oh man, if you see there's all kinds of things about what's in the actual Bitcoin code. He was going to write a shopping cart. He was going to write a storefront. I think there's even some parts of it where he was going to connect Bitcoin up to poker sites, so you could play poker with Bitcoin. There's all kinds of ideas, and that's what's so great about Bitcoin is it's really like a Swiss Army knife. So Swiss Army knife. It does everything, and we get excited about this feature or that feature. But when you really step back and you're like, wow, I could save my money. I could send it all over the world. I could collect donations. I could be a contractor. I could tell my friends. I could just have a savings account without any fees. It just does so much. That's why I was so excited about it. So many other people get so excited about it.
That's what I like about it. Like if you're going to go somewhere, like you don't have your wallet, you could just have that. It doesn't weigh a lot.
Oh yeah, and all over the world. I remember I was in Prague at this hacker conference, and they were selling drinks, but they were selling them in Bitcoin. So it didn't matter if I was using local currency or euros or dollar. I just had to send them the 0.001 Bitcoin or whatever it was, and boom, you get your stuff.
You know what I like about it? That it's progressing so fast. Because I just got into it like about since last June, basically.
Mm-hmm.
I've been watching like almost all your shows. I go back and watch the old shows also.
Nice, thank you.
What I like about it is that all these the altcoins that they have all these cool features. Bitcoin is actually doing that now also. You know what I'm saying? Like it's like being upgraded all the time.
It's exciting, and that's what's so great about Bitcoin is that it's software. If you look at your dollar bill or even your bank account or your credit card, they haven't changed very much. Like they changed the pictures on the dollar bill and they put the chip inside the credit card. But Bitcoin can really change. It can really become something, and that's why it's exciting to have altcoins with features like anonymity and smart contracts and stuff like this. But I get a lot of crap for being a Bitcoin maximalist, but I've always believed that Bitcoin can have these features too. It'll just be a little slower and then maybe a little stronger when they roll it out. So,
yeah, what I like about it is that there's all these people trying to make money better because of Bitcoin.
mm-hmm.
Like they're throwing these huge parties and these big events, and all these developers are coming into the space, but nobody's throwing parties to fix the regular currencies that we have. There's no, you know what I'm saying? Like there's no innovation, but the innovation of this currency is incredible.
No, we can't even get rid of the penny in the other currency, even though it's not used for anything and it costs us money for cashiers to use the penny every day.
What it makes is worth, I think.
People would freak out if we got rid of the penny. They realize that the money is constantly worth less and less and less. And what I like about Bitcoin is it's the opposite. It's deflationary. There's only 21 million units. If you can get your hands on one or even a 0.1, it's going to be worth a lot in the future. There's only 21 million.
People mind them in the beginning that the number is way lower because so many people probably lost their private keys.
They say there's at least maybe 1 to 3 million Bitcoins that have been lost. And they just say they haven't moved in a while. So some normal ones. Go ahead.
How many did you say?
Oh, I think there's around 1 to 3 million that they think are lost. But again, they're just saying lost like they haven't moved in like 1,000 days. So it could just be somebody's cold storage and they don't need to get into it. And a lot of it is that Satoshi, because remember, Satoshi mined a bunch of early Bitcoins and he might have just been testing the network. He might have thrown out the keys or he might have saved the keys somewhere. And that would be the greatest treasure in a history of the world if you could get your hands on the Satoshi keys. Yeah.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah. Yeah, it's great. Bitcoin's exciting every day, man. So just keep telling people about it, keep holding a little bit. And I think you had a great idea not to invest more than you can afford to lose. Keep that day job, and then this can just be a side thing. So
Yeah, Bitcoin teaches us a lot of lessons about that.
It's good about saving. I think about things I didn't buy a year ago, and now I have just a little bit more Bitcoin, so I can buy something, nice. So
Yeah, I think about it like my job provided the Bitcoins basically by me working there. So gotta have that trust. They have that. I gotta give them that, 100%. So
absolutely, yeah. And I remember if I didn't have Bitcoin, I did a lot of work in San Francisco. I was there 2 or 3 years, but it's just so expensive to live. I wouldn't have come home with any money if it wasn't for Bitcoin, and then Bitcoin going up a little bit. It's been really great. So.
well, thank you for your time, man.
Yeah, thanks so much. Give me a call anytime, man, and just keep holding those Bitcoin. And if you'd like to give us a call now, you can call us on Skype at World Crypto Network, all one word. We're up to 2:15 on the show. That's pretty good, past our 2 o'clock goal. And if there aren't any more calls or good questions in the chat, I might go back to reading. Oh, I figured out where the button is on the interface. Caller, you're live on the World Crypto Network. What's your name? Where are you calling from?
Dan from Grand Rapids.
Hey, Dan, how's it going? What's on your mind about Bitcoin?
So I think that the crypto community has lost its way a little bit, in my opinion. I don't know. I'm kind of old school. I got in 2013, but it frustrates me about all these altcoins and adding features and things like that. And I was having a discussion with some friends online, and my whole thing is the day that India buys oil from Venezuela, not by converting rupee to US dollar and then US dollar back to Bolivar, but by just sending them Bitcoin for a couple of dollars, if not a couple of cents, for $100 billion transaction. And I think it would be great if all of the poor people of the world could use Bitcoin to buy little tiny amounts and things like that. But when Bitcoin becomes the global reserve currency, that, in my mind, is when the people have won. Because right now, I think to myself, who cares about smart contracts? Who cares about all these features when we've effectively made no difference in the world at this point? I mean, I won't say that. That's pretty extreme statement. But it's just like, I don't know. It feels like the community has lost its way in price and crazy features and things like that. And we have not kept our eye on the prize of, I even think of the Bitcoin Cash community and, this Bitcoin Cash war. How about we just say, look, you guys do your thing, we'll do our thing, everybody separate, and let's fight the battle of the governments again. Let's get back into doing that. Let's focus on that instead of all this other crap.
Well, I totally agree with you, and I think make sure you have headphones or keep me muted. But I think we have a similar perspective. We both got in 2013. That was more of a cypherpunk and a libertarian era of Bitcoin, and I think that it is kind of sad we're coming out of that. I remember when Ethereum came out, and then all these ICOs and these ERC20 tokens. I didn't think it was that much of a big deal because, like you say, I was focused on the real goal, which is sound money. And Bitcoin having the ability for sound money, the 21 million units, uncounterfeitable. Sorry, go ahead.
Don't get to the point where it's sound money and it's the global reserve currency. It's going to be a Q, and that's it. It's not gonna be what we wanted it to be.
I'm not so sure. I'm not ready to give up yet. I think that it was never going to be what we wanted to be easily. I think we were always going to have to fight this through hard. And I think that there was going to be periods like this and periods like a few years ago when Bitcoin went to 300 and everyone lost their faith and all kinds of people stopped working on it. And some of us just kept talking about it and kept working on it and hold our little handful. But yeah, the other people, when they saw Ethereum, they saw these smart contracts, they saw the ICOs, they said, my goodness, we can finally print all of the stocks for all of our corporations with ever having to sign anything with the government, which sounds great for the corporations and bad for the people who shop there. But that's what they saw in crypto. And I agree, they saw our sound money. And even now, there's websites coming out where they're saying sound money isn't a good idea. Keynesianism is the way. We need to have the ability to control the economy. And they're rejecting the very core of Bitcoin, while at the same time, these scavengers are blockchaining everything. And now they're going to layer to their own blockchains. And then, yeah, we did have the split with Bitcoin Cash. It would be easier. I would love it if they would just go their own way, as many other forks have gone, as Ethereum originally could have been on Bitcoin, just went its own way. Litecoin went their own way. But the problem with Bitcoin Cash at its very core is this deception. They want to be Bitcoin. So they took the name Bitcoin Cash. So everyone in the community has to say, no, we can't call them Bitcoin Cash. It shows up in all the Bitcoin searches. It confuses normal people. We try to say it as Bcash, all these different things. But I think Bcash, a more advanced version of Bcash, could come in the future when the US government or the corporations really try to attack us. So I think we have a lot more attacks to come. I don't think there was ever going to be that easy to switch the world over to sound money, and that there are consequences. On one side, I say we can't print any more money to buy tanks and airplanes and all these horrible weapons of war. On the other side, if there's a hurricane or a flood, I can't print money to fix people's houses. Actual money has to be spent for actual things. It's a complete paradigm shift. And I don't think anybody's ready for it. But I think, like the MP3, like the internet, like modems and networking, all the things that we've done, it's happening anyway. And it's more about dealing with it than it is whether you like it or not. What do you think?
Well, and I think, I think that's very true. And I was listening to, I think, This Week in Bitcoin on last Sunday. And there were a few Bitcoin maximalists on there, and you really get a flavor for how a maximalist thinks. And to me, because honestly, I'm what I call a single chain maximalist, right? Now, will that chain be Bitcoin? I'm not sure. Will there be just one? I'm pretty sure. But the weird thing is that it's like, I think it's like calling somebody a gravity maximalist. You know, when you tell a Bitcoin maximalist, oh, you're just, you know, there's going to be tons of these and you just don't understand how it works, I feel like I'm yelling at a wall going, you don't understand how this works. This is a protocol of value. Just like TCP/IP is a protocol of information, and we only need one, and we're only going to end up with one. And you know, if you know, EOS is great. If you had $100 billion, would you put on EOS? I doubt it. And this is what these world governments are going to be looking at. And you know, I personally think these are the target audience that we want to pull in, not necessarily you know, the guy on the street that's trying to buy coffee. That just doesn't make sense to me. And I think, just like gravity, Bitcoin's going to suck everything in, because there's just going to be one chain in the end. When Bitcoin can do everything, what's the point of anything else? I'm just thinking of Lightning Network, for example. When that thing comes online and people start using it, you know, fast and cheap transactions aren't can't be a part of your strategy anymore, because there's nothing faster or cheaper.
I agree. And I do think TCP/IP is the key example. And maybe it's too geeky for most people to understand, but there were other ways to send data around the internet. There was Fetch and Gopher, FTP, Telnet, all kinds of different protocols you could send data around, but TCP/IP won out. And there was lots of points
those
where
sat on top of TCP/IP. Those were competitors for HTTP.
Yeah, yeah. So
Um,
it's still just the
so
underlying, again, well, I don't even understand it. You know, the internet is the underlying protocol is TCP/IP. There's the network effect, right? That's what we're really talking about here. Facebook, MySpace, other things like this, they get the lead and they keep the lead. And I think that's another part of maximalism where you're saying we're putting all of our good programmers, all of our good companies, all of our good podcasters and YouTubers, the best that we can get are all working on Bitcoin, working to promote Bitcoin, and that itself is a self-fulfilling prophecy. If everyone's working on it, if the best people are in it, if the MIT guys are writing for Lightning Network, they're writing different versions of Lightning, they're testing on the Bitcoin network. That's where you want to be.
Well, and I think the most valuable thing in any of these cryptos is trust, right? And trust in the sense that you don't have to trust.
Mm-hmm.
And if, again, I kind of go back to the $100 billion example, it's when you scale it up to that level, and when you start thinking like a government does, you start realizing just how crazy it would be to say, you know what, we're going to start to have a crypto reserve of $200 million, and we're going to keep it in Ethereum.
Yeah.
I mean, it's just like that. It that doesn't connect for me. And especially people that are going, oh, EOS is going to be the great next thing, or Cardano, or whatever it might be. I just think to myself, these things feel like so much noise to me, where we've just really lost focus on what is important. And what is important is not necessarily how much money you can make on something, which, I mean, I have a family too, and I would like some extra money for them. So it's important to me. But when you're thinking about the development process, and the developers going, well, we want small blocks because it has a potential to become centralized, and we're concerned about the risk of a fork. Oh, it's such a small problem. It's only a little bit of centralization. It's only a little bit here, and it's cuts by 1,000. It's death by 1,000 cuts when you start to even go down that road. And that's why they don't do it, because if you had $100 billion, putting it into Bitcoin Cash would be insane. Now, is it a good short-term investment because you can make some money and end up with a little bit more Bitcoin? That's up to the individual. I can't answer that question. But if you're talking about the long-term future of these things, I can't wrap my head around why somebody would think there's a long-term viability to anything but Bitcoin. I'm afraid of the long-term viability for Bitcoin, much less all this other stuff.
Well, remember also, it sounds like you're making most of your decisions from logic. And logic, I'm with you. Bitcoin's the best. It's always been the best. It solves the most difficult problems. The Byzantium generals problem, the ability to send money without double spends, all these different, the trust problem, like you're saying, it's not so much that we trust no one. It's just that the system can be mathematically proven. And you can go down the line and see where it goes, and it makes perfect sense. Whereas every other system, you have to rely on a middleman or a single person like Vitalik who could roll back the chain. The other way to try to understand these people is, first of all, everyone missed Bitcoin. We all wished we could have got Bitcoin earlier or whatever. Nobody hit it right. But for these people, they're not looking at Bitcoin as their opportunity. They're looking at random altcoin. And then when they get themselves a bag full of random altcoin, it's practically a religious conversion where they can't see anything else. And all of your logical arguments fly in the face of essentially their cult or their religion of random altcoin. And they're pretty desperate at first. They go into the chats. They're like, hey, have you heard about Joe Coin? It's the best coin there is. Buys coffee easy. Good for people named Joe. They'll just sell it. And they just want it to happen again with Bitcoin. They want their coin to be the Bitcoin that goes 10,000 up or whatever and all the money, and then they don't have to work anymore. It's harder than that, but it's been made to seem that it's that easy. So
So I have to jump off, but I'd be really interested to hear what your other listeners think about, Bitcoin maximalism in general, and just their attitudes towards why they believe what their favorite coin is, and if EOS is a thing, what's the target audience and whose thing is it going to be? Because I just don't see it. So, and thank you for all your wonderful contributions to the Bitcoin space. I really appreciate it, Thomas.
Well, cool. Thanks so much for your call. And we'll be sure to ask everybody else, see what they say, and give us a call anytime, Dan.
All right. Thanks.
Thank you. Bye-bye. And you can give us a call now on Skype, World Crypto Network, all one word. Looks like we did miss someone's call. I have approved you. You can call back if you want. And we'll try to keep this going. It's 2:30. And we're looking at the chat. They're agreeing. Things are different now. What do you think? Has Bitcoin changed? All the new altcoins, all the focus on things. Have we forgotten about sound money in 21 million units? Are we more excited to print our own money? Some are printing their own money. Hello, caller. You're live on the World Crypto Network. What's your name? Where are you calling from?
Hey, what's up? My name is Luis. And I am calling from the beautiful island of Maui.
All right, Luis. How's it going? What's your thoughts on Bitcoin today?
I have been a very long time user of Bitcoin. I bought Bitcoin at $5 a long time ago when Silk Road was out, right?
Nice, nice. Did you save any change from those transactions? Might be very valuable these days.
I really wish I did. I found out about Bitcoin from a gentleman by the name of Joe Rogan on YouTube. He had a podcast and he started talking about there's this website you can get all kinds of drugs and yada yada yada. And yeah, I bought 10 Bitcoin at $5 because I wanted to buy like $50 worth of weed. Never got the weed, never even went on the Silk Road, but I had the Bitcoin. They were at Mount Gox. I did get them off Mount Gox a long time ago, but I sold them when they were like $100 because I thought I was some really hot shit for turning $50 into $1,000. It went because when it went from 5 to 100, I think it was like a 20x or something. And
see, that's the truth. Everyone forgets that when they look back and they're like, "Oh, I would have just held it forever and it would have went crazy up." You never know where to sell. I know lots of people. They had Ethereum at $1 and they sold it at 10, and it seemed good. But yeah.
Okay, yeah. My most recent big, kind of sell was let's see. So I bought a whole bunch. I bought like 13 when it was like 250, but we hit that downtrend, right? And I moved to Hawaii a couple years ago, and I was like, dude, I need to get rid of this because I need to buy food and just like kind of chill here while I'm out here. Now I've been out here like a couple years, and it doesn't matter. I really wish I would have held on to, but I sold 13 Bitcoin at once, for like 2K because I really needed 2K. So yeah, don't knock on people for like not selling at the right time. A lot of people, even in Bitcoin, like were actually using it like a currency. So, can I give a quick crypto shout out to one of my favorite OG second layer communities, and that would be Counterparty on Bitcoin.
All right, Counterparty.
Yeah, their business model is nonprofit. So if anybody in crypto wants to get into something that's on Bitcoin and one of the OG second layers, Counterparty, one of its major use cases is rare Pepes and Pepe Cash. But I totally like the idea of user-generated assets. Do I think they belong on Bitcoin? Sure, why not? I think in 100 years is going to be a very, very valuable resource to have user-generated assets on this thing. And I'm kind of happy that we could do this function now. Hopefully it gets like Lightning Network integration, and that all even saves on fees and what have you. But yeah, right now it costs whatever a Bitcoin fee is to do anything on Counterparty. So that's kind of a caveat, but yeah.
Yeah, it's a cool project. Been around for a long time, Counterparty. Yeah, it's a rough sell of the 13 there. The only thing I can say is in the future, and to people listening, and I have a hard time with this myself, it's easy to sell all of it. I go in there and I'm like, Litecoin, sell max. I push the button, it fills it in automatically. But if you just even save 10% or 20% of these coins, and Bitcoin, Litecoin, Ethereum, whatever it is, you're buying and selling them all the time. If you can just hold a little bit and see how it goes, it won't be as good as holding the whole thing, but it's less risky.
I wouldn't. Yeah, I wouldn't try to get rich off Counterparty, because it's like totally, again, it's like Bitcoin in the sense that it's like it's just it any money going into it just comes from community. So, you know, it'd be great if like Counterparty great for like if you want to sell a car or something and you want that deed or something that represents that deed on the Bitcoin blockchain and you want that to be like 100% secure. You know, that might be a use case, but you could just do that on Bitcoin. You don't necessarily need a second layer thing. But if you wanted to, we have that option. You know, you don't have to go to Ethereum to do your ICO. You can stay kind of mostly in Bitcoin. You know what I'm saying?
And there are other projects, Rootstock and other things, building side chains onto Bitcoin that have similar functionality to Counterparty. What's interesting about Counterparty is when they started, they burned a bunch of Bitcoin as a proof of burn, and everyone was like, no, no, you could have used that to build your project. And there's been this kind of everlasting debate about whether it was a good idea because it shows, you know, destruction, it shows value, or whether it was a bad idea because you could have gotten something out of it.
I think, you know, those coins are gone and now Bitcoin is definitely a lot more scarce. I'm kind of grateful Counterparty did what they did, you know. I don't think another project can do it again, especially in this environment where Bitcoins are 10K a piece, you know. To do it in this environment, no way. But it was very appropriate for, I think, like 2014, just as a proof of concept. And I think there were a lot of kind of early Counterparty holders that, like, I don't know if they made off or rich or whatever, but they definitely have a very, very strong community. You know, I'm in community kind of just with my association with Rare Pepes, but that's it, you know.
Well, it was also it wasn't just them that burned the Bitcoin. There was also an article recently, Wired Magazine got an early Butterfly Labs miner. And I remember reading the article when it came out. They mined around 13 Bitcoins, coincidentally. And they decided that the most ethical thing they could do would be to destroy them. They couldn't donate them to charity or hold them so that perhaps if Bitcoin went up, they could have like a foundation for magazine writers or some kind of, you know, scholarship fund, anything like that. And this was all proposed at the time. In the article, they say, oh, yeah, we thought about doing this. We thought about doing that. But we were like, but what if we as a magazine earn Bitcoin? Then we'll be biased to Bitcoin if it gains any value. They ended up destroying these. And every year it's going to be like the Bitcoin pizza. How much money did Wired destroy this year? You know?
Yeah. I remember that. I bought my Butterfly Lab miner in January and didn't get it till October. I bought a couple jalapenos. And,
nightmare, man. Nightmare.
By the time I got them, well, actually, I was able to sell them on eBay at a very high profit, like $1,000 a piece.
Nice.
Because Bitcoin is going through a hype cycle. It was like right before Mt. Gox. It was like hitting like $1,000 for the first time, $1,200 or something. And yeah, I was able to sell my Bitcoin miners at a very steep profit. But I had to wait till the end of the year for my miners, you know, and I lost it all in opportunity costs at like from January to, you know, November. I could have made a whole bunch of money, you know, but again, I was waiting for my miners is the problem, man. I should have just been buying Bitcoin the whole time and keeping it as far away from Mt. Gox as I'm a creditor at Mt. Gox. So someday I'm going to get a fraction of my Bitcoins.
Oh, wow. You filled out all the forms, got in on the bankruptcy. Yeah, I don't know why something worse isn't happening to Butterfly Labs, because I feel the same way you did. I only had one miner. It was $300, but I bought it with a Bitcoin. And by the time I got it, it was worth a third of a Bitcoin. And then, you know, you turn it on, it doesn't really do much. And then, yeah, I'd sell it on eBay as well. And it's just so sad because this company actually had the miners and mined with them for themselves. And they let employees take them home to mine with them. And just, they had all the fun that we wanted to have, having a very early ASIC and actually making a little money from mining. I think about what would it be like if they'd actually shipped out those miners? There'd be a whole bunch of happy crypto nerds out there who would mine a little bit. It'd be
There
pretty nice.
would be. There would be. And at the time, I think the only other option, I, dude, I spent so long waiting for my miner that I ended up getting one of those little USB block eruptors, and I
Yeah.
ended up overpaying way too much for those. The block eruptors were like a Bitcoin each or something.
Sure.
And
There was a fever around mining equipment, like you say. Everyone wanted it. Yeah, they didn't care if it was profitable or not. They
it was
just
like
wanted to
pretty much.
mine.
Yeah. Well, I'm in Hawaii, so my connection isn't particularly that great. So I'm gonna let you guys go, but this has been wonderful.
Well, cool, man. Thanks so much for the call. Give us a call anytime. And stay safe out there in Hawaii. They had the volcanoes and stuff, man.
For sure.
All right. We'll talk to you soon. All right. So you can give us a call on Skype at World Crypto Network, all one word. I'll probably try to keep the show going for a little bit longer, see if we can get a couple more calls. But what do you think of the current callers? They said Bitcoin has changed. It's a different community now, not as many maximalists, not as many people that believe in maybe the philosophical ideas of liberty or sound money or even cypherpunks. Maybe you say censorship resistant isn't important to me because I never do anything that the government doesn't like. I have no reason to ever hide anything. And that's a great idea. And a lot of people think that way. But when you really get down to it, we all do little things and we all enjoy our privacy. And it's an important part of being human. Think a lot about Big Brother in 1984, in this world we live in with all the facial recognition and all the cameras and everything. And there's not a lot of privacy left. So to have something like Bitcoin where you can send around money and you can support political causes that you support, like WikiLeaks or any other organization that the government or PayPal or credit card companies would block. You can do that now with Bitcoin. And that's what censorship resistance is about. And that's why it's so important. The ability to send money to anyone, not to have your money intercepted or rejected because it's on some list or something like that. So let's go back. Let's see. I think we did a little bit of the samurai book. We did a lot of the on bullshit book. Really gave you that one. I think I could do an audiobook of that one. I could just keep reading that all day. But maybe we'll do a little bit more Bukowski random poem here. That's not very good. Let's see. Oh, here we go. This will be good. About Competition by Charles Bukowski. The higher you climb, the greater the pressure. Those who manage to endure learn that the distance between the top and the bottom is obscenely great. And those who succeed know this secret. There isn't one. No difference between the top and the bottom. Oh, you're not a poetry guy? Come on. You don't know anything about Bukowski. That's all that is. You don't know anything about this crazy drunk who wrote poems. Oh, man. That's sad, men going your own way guy who's been on my show a long time. You don't know Bukowski. You got to really this isn't like, I mean, I could get you some fruity poems and I could get you some Keats or something and Yeats, and I like all those guys too. But no, this is this guy, he worked at the post office for 40 years. Then he wrote poems about his life and about what it was like to carry the mail. Bukowski had a scarred face from all these pox that he has as a kid, so he always looks like a monster. But inside, he has this golden heart. There's a poem he does called Bluebird, and he says, "There's a bluebird in my heart that's trying to get out, but I won't let it. I keep it down there and I shove it back down, and I hear its song sometimes, but I won't let it out." The Bluebird, Bukowski. These are good poems. That one's short. But again, these are just to pass the time and give you something to think about. Poetry is like a really short story with words, and it just sometimes it's about how interesting a story you can paint with as few words as possible. And short phrases are more powerful than whole books sometimes. But you know, I don't want to force poetry on you. Oh, this sounds pretty good. Okay, so here's another one. It says, like a polluted river flowing, by Charles Bukowski. The freeways are a psychological entanglement of warped souls, dying flowers in the dying hour of the dying day. Old cars, young drivers, new models driven by aged men, driven by drivers without licenses, by drunk drivers, by drug drivers, by suicidal drivers, by super cautious drivers, the worst. Drivers with minds like camels, drivers who piss in their seats, drivers who yearn to kill, drivers who love to gamble, drivers who blame everybody else, drivers who hate everybody, drivers who carry guns, drivers who don't know that what rear view mirrors are for, what the turn signals are for, drivers who drive without brakes, drivers who drive on bad tires, drivers who drive slowly in the fast lane, drivers who hate their wives or their husbands and want to make you pay for that. Unemployed drivers, pissed. All these represent humanity in general, totally enraged, demented, vengeful, spiteful, cheap denizens of our culture, vultures, jackals, sharks, suckerfish, stingrays, lice, all on the freeway along with you, tailgating, cutting in and out, cheating themselves, leering, their radios blaring the worst music ever written, their gas tanks nearly empty, engines overheating, minds over the next hill. They don't know how to drive or live. They know less than a snail crawling home. They're what you see every day going from nowhere to nowhere. They elect presidents, procreate, decorate their Christmas trees. What you see on the freeway is just what there is. A funeral procession of the dead. The greatest horror of our time in motion. I'll see you there tomorrow. Ah, that was good. So Bukowski, a little bit of driving. I lost the poem, but guys, I like the line. It's interesting to see him talk about the people and just how they can't drive or live. They don't know how to drive and they don't know how to live. These are separate problems. So you guys can check that out with Charles Bukowski, Sifting Through the Madness, the Word, the Line, and the Way. And you'll see you there tomorrow because he's got to be on the freeway too. We can't escape it. $10 bid on the feature wall to stop reading poetry. I swear, I think you're a diesel mechanic. It was even a poem about cars. What are the odds, man? I get you a poem about the freeway, Los Angeles, America, driving cars. But I get your point. I thank Vention MT Gao for a $10 donation, and thanks to Check Your Six for a $5 donation. He says, thanks for all the good stuff you bring those you don't even know. So yeah, I like hanging with you guys. I like talking Bitcoin, reading a little books. We do have this Bitcoin address here. If you don't want to donate through the YouTube system and you want to donate directly through Bitcoin all over the world, it starts with a 3. I made it with a ledger recently. If you want to learn more about the ledger, check out my recent review where I turned on and activated a ledger, or it was a Trezor, sorry. It was a Trezor Model T, the new one with the screen. And well, that's his name. It's a MG Tau or MT Gao. I don't know. I don't say it right. I think of Mount Gox when I see that, honestly. It's like a letter off. But thanks so much to everybody for watching. Had a great time hanging out with you. Probably going to go try to see the Solo movie before everyone ruins it for me. At first, they said it was no good. They fired the early directors. Then they hired Ron Howard, and they reshot most of the movie. Now people are saying that it's kind of a passable story. Maybe it's not Star Wars, New Hope, the original, and galaxies bending, but maybe it's a fun story in Star Wars land. That's what I'm hoping for. I thought Rogue One was pretty good. I didn't like The Last Jedi or The Force Awakens. And of course, I don't like the prequels. I'm an original trilogy maximalist. I believe there's only the original Star Wars trilogy, never been edited or remastered. So thanks so much for watching Bitcoin Talk Show. We've got one more call. All right, let's see if I can fit it in. Hello, caller. You're on the air. We've only got 10 minutes left. What's your name? Where are you calling from?
Oh, my name is Hitesh. I'm calling from Toronto.
All right. What's on your mind about Bitcoin?
Sorry, what?
You think what's on your mind about Bitcoin? What are you thinking?
Honestly, I have nothing on my mind right now. I just called you to thank you for your show, and I really missed it.
Well, thanks, Hitesh. It took me a while to get my computer set up, and as you guys know, I'm using a separate computer for Skype here. I had to get the remote desktop going, and sometimes this is a hard show to do because people don't always call in, so we don't have anything to do when that happens. But hopefully, if I do it more often, and maybe if I get a schedule or if I try different times of the day, more people will be able to call. And I do think people want to call; they just have to work and stuff. So.
I still remember the first time I wanted to call you. I was so nervous. I'm like, you know what? I have never done this, so I'm just gonna sit and listen to what other people have to say. And then one day I was like, you know what? What's the worst that's gonna happen?
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah, well, and you just got to ask a question. If it's a general question or any kind of question, it helps people understand. And there are other people that have the same question as you. So that's what's great about this type of show.
Yeah, I guess that's true. What's on your mind?
Just Vegas Golden Knights. We got the game coming up tonight. We've got hopefully going to just go see Solo. I mean, as far as Bitcoin, I kind of live off Bitcoin and I never know when to sell. So it's always hard for me when the price goes down because you think about all the money you lost and how you could have lived longer. And then you think maybe I have to work or I have to take more donations or get advertisements or something like that. So it's always a bummer when it goes down. I do think when the point where I'm the most bummed about it, and I did sell a little bit recently just in case so I can have some money to live on. Whenever I do that, the price goes right back up. So if I'm your indicator, we might have found a bottom.
That would just me. Whenever I buy, the price goes down. Whenever I sell, the price goes up. I'm like, you know what? I'm not doing anything.
That's it. No, and there's nothing you can do. And the only thing I try to do is, I mean, maybe I was going to sell like 100% recently, but instead I sold 30%. And these kind of things keep some of it in there, and it reduces your stress a little bit. You don't have to worry about it.
Yeah.
But then the problem is that casino fallacy. You get going on the other side. You're like, oh, if only I had 100% in, it would have went up more. I would have made more. But it's the 70-30 is so safe. You got 30 in reserve or any kind of percentage game. I just tell people it's so easy to sell it all or to buy it all. But if you're smart, you'll do 80-20 or you'll do 70-30 or 90-10 or whatever feels comfortable to you.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not a trader, so I don't trade, but people who trade, I always, especially new traders, right? I always tell them only have a certain percentage of your portfolio that you're willing to trade. The rest, you just hold on to it,
and see which one does better.
Right?
All the trading, all the stress, all the in and outs, or just having a little bit of Bitcoin in there and hoping it goes well. So
yeah, that could work too.
Definitely, man. Well, thanks so much for the call, Hitesh, and thanks for listening.
Thank you so much for your show.
All right. Give us a call anytime. And we're going to go ahead and run towards the exits here. But thanks so much, everybody, for calling and for chatting, for listening. Be sure to give us a thumbs up and a share. If you haven't subscribed already, subscribe down below. This is the World Crypto Network. We do shows like this all the time where we talk about Bitcoin and other cryptocurrencies. And if you want to get notifications about when we go live, click the notifications bell. If you want more information, follow me on Twitter at MadBitcoins. And until next time, bye-bye.